So you've learned how to join two tables together using an inner join. And you've learned what a left join is and how it's different. But there are a range of issues you might come across when working with joins. In this video, I'll show you what these issues are and how to avoid them. Here is our sample query. If you've seen the previous video in this series, this will be familiar. But if you haven't, this is a query that selects some customers and the status of each customer, which comes from the account status table. We join the tables together using this join clause here. The two columns used in the join are customer.statusID and accountstatus.id. What are the issues that we might run into? The first is that you might get this error when you run the query. It says column ID in field list is ambiguous. This error happens because the database doesn't know which table to get the column from. There's an ID column in the customer table and an ID column in the account status table. We haven't told the database which one we want to use, so we get this error. We only get the error for this column because all of the other columns have a unique name between these two tables. Status ID, for example, is only in the customer table. How can we resolve this? We use a technique called qualifying, which means we add the table name before the column name in the select clause. For this ID column, we want to get it from the customer table, so first we add the customer table before the ID column. Then we add a dot so it says customer.id. If we run this, the query should work. We run this and see our results here. We can see a list of customers and the status of each customer. There is no error about an ambiguous column. We could leave our query like this, but I like to be consistent in my SQL where I can, and I recommend that you do as well. In this example, I'll add the table name to all of the columns. In this query, most columns are from the customer table, and the status value is from the account status table. We run this and see the results. It's the same as before. Adding the table names to the select clause has not changed the results, but in my opinion, it's now easier to read. In the next video in this series, I'll show you a technique to improve our query in this area. The second issue you might find is using the wrong join type. There are several different types of joins in SQL. We've used an inner join, which will get rows that have matches in both tables. There's also a left join or left outer join, which gets rows from one table and either a match or a null value in the other table. There's a right outer join, which is the opposite of this. I find that it's rarely used, but it's good to know. There's also a full outer join and a cross join. A common issue is that you use a type of join where you expect to see your results in one way, but you see something different. This could be more rows than expected or fewer rows, or maybe even duplicate rows. This is likely because you've used a type of join that you didn't mean to. So if you get an unexpected result from joining two tables, think about how you want to see your data and try changing to a different join. The third issue you'll find when learning how to use joins is that the data does not match. Sometimes the results you get don't match what you expect. The data doesn't look right, or there are far fewer rows than expected, and you're sure you are using the correct join. One reason for this is the data types, specifically using integers and text values. Let's see an example. I'll update this customer table to add a new column. I'll call it status ID text and we'll use the data type of varchar. I run this alter table statement and the new column is added. Now let's update the data in the table. I'll run these update statements, which will set the value of this new column to either 1, 2 or 3 based on what the other status ID value is. The new status ID text column is a varchar, so I need to specify the values inside single quotes. However, notice in this value that I've added a 0 before the number, and in this value I've added a space after the number. I've done this deliberately. We can run these statements and the data is updated. I'll run a quick select star query to see what's in the customer table. We can see the results here. Now let's update our query that joined this table to the account status table. We're going to join on this new status ID text value. It has the same value, but it's in a text data type, and the ID in the account status table is an integer. We have updated our query here to join on the new status ID text value. I'm not sure what we'll see here. Let's run the query and find out. We run this and see the results here. We see the customer data for several customers. We see customers that are active and cancelled. So the join has worked. In MySQL, it has done something called an implicit conversion, meaning it has read the text value and determined that it is a number and performed a join. It's also determined that the values are the same, even if they have a leading zero or a space. However, other databases may not do this. You may get an error or no results or fewer results. Also, if this status ID text had other characters like dash or dots, then maybe it would not have joined. How can we prevent these possible issues? One way is to update the data type in one of the columns so they are the same. For example, I could update that status ID text column to be an integer. Another way is to use a function on one side of the query. I could use a convert or a cast or toNumber function to convert the text to a number. However, this could cause other issues, such as any indexes not being used, so it should be investigated. If the data types are both text and they are meant to be text, and you're not getting the right results, then maybe there are extra spaces or dashes that are causing the two values not to be equal. You can use a function like trim to remove the spaces from a text value, which could resolve the issue. If there are other characters, then you'll have to do some kind of string manipulation using functions like substring or replace. The specifics would depend on the values you're joining on and your database. One tactic I like to use is to select both columns in your query and then add a third column that shows if they are equal. You'll get a true or false value which can help diagnose what the issue could be. In this video, we've seen a couple of issues when working with joins. You'll want to watch this video next, where you'll learn a few ways you can improve your SQL joins. Thanks for watching.